Yeah, so I'm just sitting here thinking about all the internet bullshit and the technological depravity of, I just, like I said, this idea of these fictional dystopias like 1984, They Live, Half-Life 2, Brave New World, those would all be a fucking cakewalk compared to being trapped in this fucking prison universe on this fucking piece of shit rock. It's like they literally don't want you to be able to do anything anymore. So, it never fails. I'll disappear off YouTube for a couple years, come back, try to make, videos about something I'm passionate about, and then it wants to start, banning me and doing all this shit. And so, having to delve back into the bullshit, I start to find out about stuff I didn't know about. Like, for example, apparently Google expects you to like scan a QR code or whatever, just to make an email address now, which I will never do. And, one of the big things for me is I've seen some more recent videos because of the impetus being placed on me, and I start looking into shit. And so naturally, you get the chain of recommended videos. And so now I'm just, not on video games anymore. It's just, all of the technological oppression shit. And I basically had what I had said a year ago confirmed whenever the UK shit with the age verification and all the, the infosec channels were talking about it. That's what I kept saying. I was like, I promise you whatever the US comes up with will be way fucking worse. And sure enough, they act like they want to put verification on fucking operating systems and shit. And now I keep seeing about all these data breaches. And I'm saying that now, and wait till everyone else is copying it like usual. That you know, if the state didn't want to inflict an identity on you and then pretend you have to use it for everything, and act like that's for like safety or this or that, then there wouldn't be no databases for these hackers to break into and steal your identity, right? I mean, think about it. Motherfuckers usually don't steal shit that's not worth anything, right? So it's a purely state inflicted problem, and as usual, it's always the state's fault. And I get tired of the false dichotomies. Every time you see some shit like that, it's us versus them, pointing the fingers, like both ways, right, at each other. It's like the Spider-Man thing or whatever. It's like you're all the fucking problem. The Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other or whatever. And I'm still residually sick. If I cough some, I'm not. That was the thing for me. I came back with a zest for lifting stuff, related stuff, because I was dieting and all this other shit, and YouTube has to get in my fucking way in that on that. Um, and it just you know, it wants to. Society always wants to funnel you into particular shit, right? So it wants to censor me, but let all these criminals run wild and everything. But my point with that is that all of these fake groups, like there are no subcultures or whatever, like fake goth, this, that, whatever side, there are no sides. They're all the same psychotic apes running around doing a bunch of evil shit with no consequences. There are no subcultures. They are the culture. And as I've said, humans are cultured like bacteria. And, you know, um, what I started saying, about the information stuff, like if they, one of the things I haven't seen anybody point out. First of all, I get so tired of these channels that talk about this shit like it's brand new, or like police state is something looming over the horizon, like it's not already here. They really get you with that creep and normality shit on these humans that I guess forgot about all the other depravity of the state for thousands of years now. They're just cool with it. But one of the things I point out is that name is like the original tracking device. That's the original mass surveillance. So in the past, there were no cameras. Maybe you could hypothetically go somewhere else, but the fake reputation they inflict on you might travel as well, right? So if you went to another place, they might be like, oh, name, aren't you the guy that did the thing? And, of course, it's just character assassination shit. And so they want to preemptively fuck up your ability to just be able to go elsewhere and get away from whatever you were already being oppressed by. I mean, your appearance was already a tracking device, but you could change that to some extent. But names, and then, of course, humans come up with writing. What are they going to do? They're going to use it to store all this fake info on you. And, they want to store these names and places and all this other shit. And it's like the most basic level of it is this oppression shit. But I do everything I can to avoid this shit. But, you know, they want to try to make it to where you have to show your age, prove your age, dude, I'm not doing any of this shit. I mean, I saw this for the first time on Meet Me like 6 years ago because I used to use Meet Me a lot, but then at some point, I had my account banned. I had dozens of accounts on that piece of shit because, it's like Tinder. They'll just ban you. They'll report you just to be petty, right? Just to be a piece of shit. Well, at one point, I made a new account on Meet Me, and it was acting like it needed a phone number. Um, and I was like, all right, fuck that. But at a point, I was desperate, and begrudgingly, I gave it a phone number. Well, then all of a sudden, it wanted me to like give it pictures to verify my account. Not fuck this, forget it. And I just uninstalled the app and never worried about it again. But, you know, back then it was already better because, well, even if they wanted an email, they either didn't require a phone number for an email, or, you know, the service I had, it was really easy to change your phone number. I could do it whenever I wanted. I had no real information on my account, paid the phone in cash, pay the pay cards in cash, right? And I could change my number whenever I wanted. So hypothetically, on all these emails or different apps that required an account with a phone number, even YouTube, I mean, I could make dozens, you know. Um, well, then, they took that away. So, changing the number so easily became impossible. And I've been looking for a different way to do that. And it doesn't seem like there's any options. And it's just so stupid to be looking for what now would be advertised as an anonymous phone service that really just boils down to how they just were by default 10 years ago, right? That's how everything is now, is basically I'm just wanting shit from 10 years ago. Um, Browser fingerprinting and all that shit, right? Back in the day, I used to use NoScript, request policy, and ad block. Shows you how long ago this was. I mean, nowadays you're not going to be able to use anything because they fingerprint you. If they even see the apps and the add-ons installed, they'll fucking block you on the CDN, if not the website. Usually the CDN. That's another disaster, is these fucking CDNs. And like doing anything on the internet with a VPN, and even especially Tor, is pointless at this point because like I've never used a VPN, but Tor is you know the exit nodes are all public information. So all these websites do is just block all the Tor exit nodes. So then it's pointless to do anything that 99% of motherfuckers would want to do, which is just use the fucking internet without having their information, stolen and sold. Of course, they don't want to give you your cut. Is off limits basically. Back in the day, dude, YouTube and this and that, I had it locked down. There wasn't a single script running that I didn't specifically explicitly allow. Now, if you try to do shit like that, the site's just not going to work. Now this is back in the day before HTTPS was basically required on everything and this and that. I mean, HTTPS isn't even necessarily that great, but they just want to lock you down. And it's really just because now your personal information is a commodity. And I was watching a hacking related video a minute ago, and I had that thought. Like 10 plus years ago, I used to think, it's like, oh yeah, I'll install DASLoader for Windows 7. Who cares? I don't care if hackers, like I trust hackers with my information more than I do Microsoft or Google or whatever, right? Well, now I can't say that because you know what? They're hacking your information and they're just selling it back to the fucking government too, aren't they? Right? Which yet again, it's an inflicted problem, and that's the problem with this new age verification shit. I'm being abbreviated because I'm limited to 15 minutes, so I might split it across 2 or 3 videos. Stream of consciousness, I either remember what I wanted to talk about or don't. I either say whatever. Like I said, it's just going to be what it is. It's just therapy for me to do shit like this. But that's the problem, and everybody knows it, right? It's not about safety or this or that. They want to be able to track you everywhere. And so something else I had happen recently is I've started to realize I cannot find like prepaid temporary cards anymore, like debit cards that you can just use right when you load them. It's like I had to pay for an account recently, and normally I get the Visa Serve cards. Well, where I would normally get them, I couldn't fucking find them anymore, right? And the last time I tried looking for one, because like I was just about due, like I went to 8 different gas stations, nobody had them. Well, it was a mild success story. I guess I determined so I was like, all right, let me load 1 month on a gift card and just see if a gift card will work for this. Now, thankfully, it did. It's like, all right, Kate, cool. But that's the thing is all this is like they just want to change everything all the time, right? But something else I think they've picked up on is that because of their Patriot Act, you would never want to pay for something more than $500 without the government knowing about it, unless you were a terrorist, of course, right? Or money laundering, because they tell us where they, spend all their fucking money, right? But I think what they've realized is that you can most stuff you would ever want to buy with one of those, you can get with 500 or less, and so they're basically having these card companies phase those things out. Because I used to get American Express Bluebird cards. I hadn't been able to find them for like 5 years. I actually was surprised when I was looking into this to find out that they only just got discontinued last year. It's like, well, dude, I hadn't found them forever by that point, which is why I went to the Serve cards. Okay, well, you can't find those anymore. And that's kind of the point is, all right, well, I found the gift cards as a temporary solution. How long will that fucking work? What's kind of cool about the gift cards is they work how those American Express Bluebird cards used to, where it cost more to load the money on it, but there were no activity fees, there were no transaction fees. So now that I know I can use a gift card, it's better. And this is the thing, and this is the canard with most of this. So you wouldn't want privacy unless you were evil, criminal, whatever, hacker, and it's like, no, I'm paying for an account that has my name on it, right? So they already know it's me. It's not really technically hiding anything. It's just, why do you think I should have to put card information on the internet? Like, it is so nuts that, and this is why I think YouTube banned my last channel, is because they had put shit on my computer, or well, on my account at one point of acting like I needed to verify age, which I ignored. And then recently when I started using it again, they wanted to block me out of YouTube Studio, saying I needed to give them a phone number, which I didn't do because I'm not doing that. Um, if I had a phone service where I could change my phone anytime I wanted, like before, then I wouldn't give a fuck. But I'm not going to do that at this juncture. Well, I waited long enough on that one and it went away. But then, like not long after that, I guess they just banned me anyway. Sorry, fuck it. Another alt I tried, they just locked me out and said I had to give them a QR code and shit. It's like, I'm never doing that. My point being is somebody, you know, like I seen a comment on one of these types of videos talking about, same ideas. Like I said, well, dude, once they want to pretend they want all this bullshit for everything, then I'll just never use the internet again. I can't believe I was in love with technology like I was 20 plus years ago. I thought it was the future, right? But like in a good way. And if only I had known when I was 11 years old that Metal Gear Solid 2 and Deus Ex were trying to warn me about something. And like this shit is and it's like, then like I said, I'm not giving YouTube my driver's license to be able to pin comments on my own channel, right? That's fucking mentally retarded is what it is. And, if it comes to a point of they're going to act like you need that for everything, then forget about it.